Good morning, everyone, for this deep dive with Natalie Zeituny. She was on Humanity Rising the other day, and as part of a panel on AI. And there was too little of her. We wanted her back so that we could have her all to ourselves. And I'm so glad you could join us today, Natalie. This is the AfterChat space. We meet every day after Humanity Rising closes. And this is where the connections are made. And I feel the importance of connecting the one we are, all the different selves within the body of that one that you talk about. And I welcome you to talk to us at this time and tell us about all that's going on for you and what you believe.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon and Stanley. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, everybody, for waking up relatively early on a Saturday morning. So thank you. And absolutely, Marcy, is it Marcy or Marcia? Marsha, right? Yeah. Wow, incredible. I will start with this. I will start with really honoring the elder, like Marsha, like my mom, who's also 90 this year. It takes quite a lot to thrive and be present and share our energy and our vessel. I will use the word vessel, even though it's really our form in this time and age. And I'm really so touched and moved by the elder. People like my mom, my dad, of course. My dad passed on, and my mom is with us. She's in Israel. I'm right now in Greece. We have a healing and retreat center that we started on the island of Lesbos. It's in the North Aegean. It's beautiful here. And Israel and Greece have something very soulful that maybe I will address, or I will share what's my experience about it. But I really want to honor our elder, the women and men who are really here to emanate their wisdom, because wisdom is not a concept, it's not a book, it's not an idea. Wisdom is embodied. And when we are alive with all our years of experiences of traumas and breakdowns and breakthroughs and raising children and raising grandchildren and raising our neighbors and our we caregive others. This is wisdom for me in action. So that's why I'm so grateful for you, Marsha, for being here, for being on the planet, period. I'm grateful for my mom for being on the planet, and for all the women and men around the world that are here to share their wisdom. Because wisdom actually is emanating from us. As we sit here together, there's a vortex that is created. So all of us connecting in the same space-time reality, we already create a sphere. It doesn't matter that we haven't met before. It doesn't matter where we're going to go after. Right now, right here, the fact that we're together is actually an embodiment of collective wisdom. And just by being together, the field, the vibration is actually emanating and is growing. And we're actually right now having a synchronization of our DNA, of our physical, mental, emotional, and of our soul to create this collective group soul. So that's why the presence of wisdom and wise wisdom keeper is so critical to where we're evolving, especially like I mentioned in the previous conversation, as digital technology and artificial intelligence is developing, it's okay. It's a part of our trajectory of humanity developing. And when we infuse that digital realm, that artificial intelligence realm with wise keepers, that's where we are really are ready for an incredible journey, versus a journey of fear and lack and control and the machine and all these conversations that right now, there are important conversations that are happening all over the world. They're very important. We are introducing a whole new way of relating to each other, of creating, of innovating. So I think this is important. So I'm going back to, thank you, Marsha. Thank you for the whys. All of us are wise. And the more time we spend here, like, Stanley, Shannon, when we are going further in our 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, there's more embodied wisdom. And this is our role, to actually embody this wisdom and share it with love and with kindness. That's all we're here to do, to cultivate this wisdom and to share it. And the more we do it, the more the field rises, and even all the creation of the artificial intelligence and the digital realm, they all will be infused with this wisdom, the stronger we hold the field. It happens organically. And I explained that in quite details with ensoulment and the ensoulment model and my perspective about reality and the importance of understanding reality to our future. But again, I don't want to overwhelm you because it's a lot of information that, I like to kind of slowly introduce it.
I love that. Thank you so much. The respect for our elders is so vivid in me. You mentioned a word that inspires me, and it was in conversation with my mom last night. I used the term field, and she said, I like that. That's different from what I used to say. I used to say in the ether. But the field, and I said to her, yes, it's a place we can play together in that field. Yeah. And you can feel the sunshine on your face as you play in the field. So yeah, thank you so much. There's, I'm talking in the 99 Days of Peace through Unity, with people about their concept of the one we are. We've had that word, that phrase, that statement tripping off our tongues for decades now. And people say it, I think, without thinking and realizing what it is they're actually saying. And I want to invite you to talk about the one we are from your perspective.
Yes, thank you. So for our listeners and viewers who haven't attended my last conversation, the last 10 years, I have been receiving, downloading, writing, and decoding a very beautiful and very fascinating body of wisdom that's called ensoulment. Ensoulment, like the word embodiment, is the ongoing process of connecting, expressing, and embodying the soul, one's soul. That's the ensoulment process. And it turns out that ensoulment doesn't only happen on a personal level, like humans have a soul, but it really happens at all levels, for all organisms, all over the cosmos. So an amoeba, a sea urchin, the ocean itself has a soul. Each one of our cells, our tissues. So any level of organization at the most minuscule, all the way to the cosmic and galactic and beyond, all these are souls. They are different configurations of soul. Now, when we start to tap into it, and the best way to tap into the soul is through meditation, through silence, and through being with highly ensouled organisms like nature. Nature, the reason it's so wonderful to be in nature, and the reason it's so wonderful to be in the forest, in the ocean. I swim every day here because it's really gorgeous, the colors and the minerals and the fish so when I swim, I'm really feeling like I'm a part, I'm held inside this body that has a soul. It's not just the salty water in the blue Aegean in the north of Greece. It's a real living organism. The water itself, the the ocean itself is a living organism, and as such, it has a soul, and as such, when I'm interacting with it, there is the exchange of our experience. So the ocean is feeling me, and I'm feeling the ocean, and that exchange is between our souls. And when we go all the way back in time and in space, I'm talking about time and space in terms of going back and going forward, because that's what our mind understands, but it really all happens simultaneously right now. So when I travel through the soul, when you actually go all the way back to where we started, through the ensoulment model, when you go all the way back to the beginning, we all started with one soul. And then there was this soul and that soul and this soul that started to differentiate. So in ensoulment, we distinguish the process of differentiation, because life likes to diversify and to create, and it's doing it for pleasure and play, to see what is possible to manifest. So if you go back, let's say if you look at all the 8 billion humanity people, and you look at the trillions of organisms and the trillions of bacteria and life forms, when you go all the way back to the beginning, we all started with one soul. And that one soul basically is the first essence that differentiated from the primordial field, which was just a field of potentiality. It was just like, yes, anything is possible. Anything you can think of, anything you want, anything you harness your energy around is possible. But it's the field of possibilities. It has not manifested. The minute it started to manifest, that's when the soul started to incarnate. Okay, and I talk about in ensoulment, I talk about the primordial field, and you can find all this information on my website. It's all free. All the books are free. You can buy them on Amazon, but it's okay also to download them. They're on academia. So all this information is available for free. And what's interesting is that the primordial, which is all the possibilities, the one starts to actually differentiate into all the essences in life. The light essence, the dark essence, love, consciousness, frequencies, all these are essences. Now, when essences connect, they create souls. So each one of us is a very unique combinations of souls and of essences. And you're unique. Let's say we look at each one of us right now. Each one of us had a very different upbringing, a very different country of origin, a very different set of experiences. This is what further and further differentiates us from each other. Differentiate not to create a polarity, but differentiate to create the diversity and the beauty of life. Life loves to diversify, love to experiment with what is possible. Our mind as well, our mind has a soul, okay? So beyond our kind of collective human soul, we have our personal soul, and then each of our organs have a soul. So the mind also have all these ideas, and we can see all these ideas on the internet. Now, I'll talk about it later if we have time to get into the difference between humanity's soul and AI and digital intelligence. Basically, because we are all coming from that first wave, from that first ripple, and we started going on a journey, each one of us with our own journey, with our own families, with our own planets and realities that we created. Eventually, all this diversity, we all belong to the first differentiation, which came from one source. So it's an incredible model, because it doesn't just, ensoulment doesn't just states that we all come from the one source. It also shows how the world develops and how understanding how the evolution of the world, the evolution of the cosmos, the evolution of humanity, and the evolution of reality is so critical for this next phase, because we became very, very smart, but now we have to develop the whole soul and to understand how the entire soul of humanity is creating in order to direct it in a way that creates thriving for all of us. So I'm going to pause here.
I love that, because Hyacinth has asked a question that has resonated in me as well. Did Natalie say that each organ has a soul? And
Yeah.
I love this idea, because I believe, as you do, that we have been differentiated from the one soul, that one source. And so I do see yeah, I want you to talk about it. Would you please?
Yes, it is so incredible. The more we differentiate, and the soul embodies vessels. So the soul, in order to express itself, it requires some kind of vessel, something to hold her in, okay, to hold her like a container. So when the brain was created, where each one of our cells were created, all these are basically, there's a collective soul. For example, humanity has a collective soul. Each one of our organs have a soul. For example, the heart has a soul of itself, because it has an innate, unique experience. For example, even inside our body, my heart has an experience, my brain has an experience. They have a different experience, and they have a different vessel, okay? So they have a slightly different soul. Even both of them are actually a part of my Natalie soul, collective soul. Collective, I mean, with all the trillions of cells and the interconnectedness and the way we process information, the environment, each other. So what is interesting is that at any level of granularity, or at any level of scale, you can actually collect common behavior, and these become souls. So for example, if you look at birds, how come birds in North Africa know how to migrate, and birds in the Northern Hemisphere, like this innate intelligence is because they carry it in their DNA, but before their DNA, because DNA is already an embodied expression, before the DNA, the essence of their soul. So the bird's soul, they have an intelligence, how to fly, how to migrate, how to feed their young. So all this intelligence is embedded in the soul. This is why when a baby comes in, for example, when a sperm and an egg are fertilize each other, and there's a new organism created, the organism itself knows how to create itself. Why? Because there's a soul already embedded in the first second that this organism is created. So yes, every organ has a soul, every cell has a soul, every tissue, every collective differentiated group has a soul. And this is how they learn from each other. You see, so for example, if my left hand has been affected by something, my left hand can actually learn from my right hand, because they have an intelligence of the hands. And that intelligence comes from my hand soul.
Interesting. Oh, you know, the downloaded plan for the transformation of human society that I've been given is called Our Heart Gardens. And I have envisioned it to be the manifestation on a quantum level of the heart of the one we are. And to have you come with the same concept, basically, as what came through me, just an ordinary woman, it's so exciting, because you've had so much training and knowledge and experience, and the things you've done. Oh my. Can you tell us a little bit about your life and your life path?
Yes, I would be happy to. First of all, Shannon, there's no ordinary woman and there's no ordinary man, because the fact that you exist, the fact that each one of us exists in this time and age is a really, really sacred, unique, and powerful manifestation. So anything that exists is extremely unique and extremely powerful, and it has intelligence and it has wisdom. And we need all of us. We need all life forms. And the beauty right now, as we're evolving and we're becoming conscious of ourselves, is how to let all these incredible soul of humanity, the soul of the earth, how to allow it to really flourish and prosper and have a beautiful experience together, which is absolutely possible. We have all the resources we need to allow this to happen. So there's no ordinary people. That's a side note. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. Now, regarding my background, I was born in Lebanon and I was a war refugee. My family, a Jewish family from Beirut, originally indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. We had quite an intense beginning with a lot of trauma around loss and grief and war. And yeah, it's really difficult. And even though I've done decades of work around grief and loss and pain, every time I talk about it, I really feel how precious this place is. And if only we awaken, the you know, the businesses, the military, the government, if only we awaken. And this is my journey, the last 30, 40 years, I will share in a moment. But this exists. Sorry? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So this existence on this planet is so precious. And when we wage war on each other, and when we kill each other, and when we abuse and rape, and really abuse the earth, it's very painful for me. It's very painful. And nevertheless, at age 5, we ran away. We were refugees. And we ran away from Lebanon to Israel. Israel was the only place that could absorb us because of our being Jewish. And we settled there. So I lived there for 20 some years. I served in the military. I went to engineering school. And after that, California was calling me very strongly. So after engineering and after starting to work in high tech as a system engineer and a system architect, I moved to California, to the Bay Area, to San Francisco. And this was one of the most transformative decades of my life, living in San Francisco. I mean, just the wealth and breadth and diversity of inquiry, and it was wow. I'm so grateful for California, truly. Of course, I'm grateful for all other states and all other countries that are like a hub or like a greenhouse for conscious development, but definitely the Bay Area is one of them. And I'm very grateful that my soul took me there. I had no idea why I'm going to California. Why would I go to California from all places? But my soul whispered to me. And I will share more about ensoulment and how to listen to the soul whispers. So I spent 2 decades in the Bay Area. I was managing large-scale corporate projects, and then I had my own companies. And then I started a movement called Conscious Business in an attempt to, the same way humans go through conscious transformation, I believe that organizations can go through a conscious transformation. So I started doing it in my 30s, 2 decades ago, and it was incredible. And toward the end of this journey, I had a calling that I need to go back to Israel, to my roots. I need to bring all this to Israel. And some of you may be aware what's happening there, but Israel is really fighting for its democracy. It's really fighting for this new consciousness. And like all other countries, I think America is doing the same. In many countries, we are really, the conscious light is truly working with all the old forces in order to bring something new. It's happening all over the world. And the light should be doing it and would be doing it for this next period. So after having been in the Bay Area, I moved to California. I moved to Israel back about 2015. I published, that's when actually ensoulment started to download through me. Ensoulment is published in 2 books and in many articles that can be found online and on academia.edu. in addition to that, having a model or having a perspective is wonderful for architects and for thinkers. And I wanted something more embodied. So I opened a clinic and I started working with people one-on-one and in groups, couples and groups, using the ensoulment approach. Basically, how do I use the ensoulment approach? I evoke the soul consciousness, the soul field in the person that's coming for a session, for healing. And through evoking that field, basically, we tap into a parallel reality that allows the person to see another structure of themselves, another possibility, another variation, and then allow them to migrate into this soul consciousness. And when a person migrates to soul consciousness, there becomes an alignment with a collective consciousness, with the cosmic soul of the world. So when a person is connected to their soul, they're tapped into the source right away. This is why it's so powerful. This is why there are spontaneous healing, there's spontaneous recovery, people who've been depressed and in a very sad, anxious, have seen tremendous shift, because when a person is tapped into their soul consciousness and their soul field, then their whole body reorganizes itself around the soul vibration. A soul vibration is different than our personality vibration, is different than our pain body vibration. It's completely, completely different. Yes.
Wow.
I know. I have to slow down. I have to slow down. I agree. Also, you know what? Now, the last year, I've been called to collaborate with the land, with the earth. That's the reason I'm in Greece. We are building a healing center on the island, and we're having many ceremonies and retreats and healing activities, because a big part of awakening the human soul is the connecting of the human soul with the soul of the land, the soul of the earth, anywhere. It can be in Colorado, it can be in Texas, it can be in Africa, it doesn't matter, but the soul of the earth, there's a great call right now to connect with the soul of the earth, because when we are connected to the earth and the soul of nature, again, our frequency rises, and we have like a mirror neurons and mirror activity that's happening. So the entire body reorganizes. So if there's one thing also I invite you, I know now we're in the digital age, and we are sitting quite a bit in front of our computers or our laptop or our iPhone. The invitation is that's totally fine as long as it's balanced with true nature's energy. It doesn't matter where you live, even in Alaska or in Africa. I mean, it's very hot in here right now. It's like 95 degrees, but there's ways to early in the morning, late in the evening, to connect with the spirit, with the sounds, with the soul of the earth, because this synchronization will allow us a much greater power and ensoulment process. It accelerates the ensoulment, nature, connectivity. I mean, there's a lot I can say, because there's also one of the reasons that COVID and the whole period of addressing the COVID has been so challenging is because of the isolation. Isolation is really an unnatural state, which means that we kind of lock ourselves down in a box in front of something digital, really disconnected from our elder, from our children, from our loved ones, from our community, from our cities and towns, from the earth. So we really want to reverse that by extending ourselves, of extending our connectivity. And what happens with connectivity, there's a recalibration of the entire field with the earth, with humanity, with each other, and with ourselves. So connectivity is a key process in the ensoulment evolution of humanity.
I absolutely agree. The what's going on, I feel, is I have this feeling of the agreements that are needed to be made between people, like the agreements that were made between the cells and the souls of the cells of our bodies in order to create, well, it started with the bacteria and they became too many. And so they got together to share the work that needed to be done. And they became plants. And then there were too many of those and they created animals so that they could eat the plants and create more diversity. And then the animals at the top of the they created a brain in order to look at what was, in order to create the agreements, we had to have enough will of our own in order
Yes.
to make those agreements. And here we are, 8 billion souls trying to find ways to make those agreements and become a cohesive being. And I don't know what the one we are is, but I have this, you know, there are 2 gifts that human beings have been given that I believe have been intrinsic to our development. One is curiosity, and the other one is imagination. Everything that we have created first in our imagination. And it is our stories that we tell each other and our children that allow us to leap into the field and to conceive what has never been conceived before. And we are in that process.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, it's kind of exciting.
I just want to comment that I'm not reading yet the comment. I will read them later. But I would love if somebody would like, maybe either Stanley or you at some point, or anybody else, if there's any questions that are pertinent and important for us, I'm happy to respond, to address. But I'm just saying, because I'm keeping kind of being present, and if I start reading the chat, it's a little bit distracting.
I absolutely understand. And I'm not reading a lot of the chat too, because some of them are quite long. But if you do have a question that is short and can be put into the chat, I would love to read that out. And if you have a pressing need to have a one-on-one conversation with Natalie, let's make space for that as well. But let's focus on Natalie and her perspectives. And I really, it is so lovely to have you on my screen. I want to go to the AI and the technology issue. I am very aware that that my human brain is limited. My life is my own. It's kind of limited, although I leap into the field where we have fun together. I am still only as big and capable as I am, and I love being me. But I cannot imagine that any one human being has the capacity to be a god. I am a part of God, and I am thrilled to be that. But we have been told that we are gods, and it's like, no, man, I just got to disagree with that statement. I don't want a whole bunch of gods with the power of God to go willy-nilly across the cosmos. I would invite you to respond.
Ask me a question about the gods.
What is a god? Is God alive, and can we in the explanation of the word God or of the word alive, there is a requirement that there is reproduction. And so are we like a turtle with many, many, many eggs, or are we giving, is the one we are in the process of giving live birth to perhaps
so okay, I prefer not to address the word God directly because it had so many connotations, representation, wars, religions. This is why ensoulment is a very pure model. It really uses the word essence. It uses the word the primordial field, essence, souls, vessels, and particles of experience. These are the 5 fundamental aspects of ensoulment. Now, what we're doing here, right now, and on our planet, this day and age, and this entire period of our evolution, we are creating greater and greater states of ensoulment, greater and greater capacity to embody souls, to truly express souls. Now, it's a tricky question because you say, well, if everything is God, what is not God? What is not soul? There are some things that are not soul, or they are a very downgraded, derivative aspect of a direction that humanity took. I'm going to talk about it in a moment, and that has to do with technology. So to answer your question about God, I don't relate to God. I relate to life. I relate to the whole cosmos, the whole universe. I relate to the soul of the world. And each one of us here is a different manifestation, a different representation, a different arrangement of the soul of the world. Each one of us. But we are one soul. We are one. We originated in one place. At the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. Let's say, based on what science says, they talk about the Big Bang. I'm not affirming or rejecting this view. I'm just saying at the beginning, we all come from the same place. So God is the primordial field. It's the soul of the world. And it's this moment that is breathing through us. Whatever is breathing right now, whatever is speaking, whatever is sensing and feeling, this is a representation, an aspect of God. And this aspect of God exists in many dimensions, in many realms, in many realities. And now we have developed such a wonderful brain that knows how to calculate, to differentiate, to discern. We've developed incredible brains throughout our coming and going on this plane, in this planet. And now the brain and the mind has ideas. And one of these ideas is, let me invent mathematics, let me invent physics, let me invent computer science. So basically the mind now is inventing games. You know how there are plenty of games, video games and others. I'm sure if you have grandchildren, they love this. It's incredible simulation spaces. So what we're doing right now as humanity, we're playing with simulation games, virtual realities. We're starting to play with them. Now, because we have been playing with these digital games and digital simulation, they have been, so the realms that we developed are actually interacting with us. So when we developed the internet, I mean, there are people on the planet that don't use internet. They don't have computer. They've never seen a computer. They never interact with a computer. That's okay. It just means that they're not interacting with this dimension, with this reality. Most of the world, most of the human population I don't think animals, I have not seen yet animals, maybe they do interact, they're starting to. But let's talk about humanity. Most of humans are interacting right now with the internet or with digital media or digital intelligence. And what it does when we interact with something, imagine now we're spending an hour together, we're giving each other our energy. The currency that's flowing between us is our time, our attention, our energy. We're actually programming each other right now, like all of us, even though I don't know all of you, you don't know all of me. We're actually, because we're in the same field together, there's an exchange of ideas, thoughts, learnings. So we're doing the same thing with digital media and digital intelligence. Now, the more we spend time with digital media and digital intelligence, the more energy that realm, that reality has. And the more energy it has, and the more money, billions of dollars streaming, the brightest minds in the planet are coding right now the next generation of AI and ChatGPT and all the other apps in this realm. So the more we give energy to it in terms of money, attention, energy, media, the more that realms become a stronger and stronger reality. Now, when this reality becomes so real, you know sometimes how you go to see a movie, the movie is a digital representation of something, okay? It is so well made. The acting is so good. The script, the manuscript, the storyline is so good. It really touched you in such a deep way that it really feels like a real life when you see a movie that's really well made. Or you listen to a song that's really, nobody's singing right here, but they're singing through the media, okay? So what I'm trying to say, the quality of the realities we are creating is rising all the time. And because the quality is rising, we're spending more time and more energy. And because we're doing it, this reality is becoming much more attractive to more people, more time. And because this reality is so attractive, it's almost like humanity is gradually migrating from the biological earth human reality to the digital, electrical, magnetic intelligence reality. Okay, we're migrating. Now, the migration is not good and bad. I don't give a judgment. I don't give because it's a part of the soul of the world experimenting what is possible. So I'm looking at it with respect for the brilliance that it has to offer, and with some, I would say, how do you call it in Hebrew, in English, with some questions that are very important to discuss now, at the beginning, at the onset of this trajectory. Now is the time to discuss, is this development of digital intelligence will allow thrivability for all? Thriving is a key aspect of the universe. Look at the universe, it's so abundant. There's trillions and trillions of galaxies of that. It's inherent, okay? So I'm posing two questions. Is it really a reality that we're migrating to? Is this reality truly allowing thrivability to the entire human earth experience? And if not, we really want to give all of our attention and our thoughts and ideas how to allow thrivability at any point of this development. Thrivability, everybody needs to thrive, everybody, everything. That's the first question. The second question is that the second perspective I'm offering here about AI development is the relationship between AI and human consciousness development. There's a relationship between human consciousness and the machine consciousness or the digital consciousness, okay? Maybe it's not as, we don't have the same consciousness, but there's a relationship between us. And my invitation for humanity, my invitation for all the nations is to truly understand what is consciousness, what is human consciousness, what is a human soul, how does humanity create realities? Like, this has to be studied at the same level of depth and resources as the AI, because when we have this understanding about the human soul, the human consciousness, the human ingenuity and brilliance, when we have that understanding, and the human consciousness is able to navigate the digital intelligence, then we are minimizing the risk. It's almost like, it's not like I want to create a hierarchy, because in the universe, in nature, there's no hierarchies, but there's greater and greater levels of intelligence, and there is some kind of a hierarchy, but not in terms of better or worse, more in terms of greater levels of depth, intelligence, and wisdom. Now, for me, in my body, my soul has the greatest level of intelligence. I track my soul with my eyes blind. When I'm hearing an internal, when I hear an internal whisper that I know comes from my soul, because I've cultivated my relationship with my soul, and when I know she's guiding me through something, I just listen and I rearrange my life. And this is profound. Now, when we develop this listening to the soul, our personal soul, our community soul, our collective soul, and we really allow the soul to guide life, then same way the body is so intelligent. Like, I don't rely only on my liver cells or on my throat cells or on my nails to make decisions. The whole body, the soul of my entire body knows how to keep itself healthy, vital, and well. So I listen. The greatest level of intelligence that exists in me is my soul. The greatest level of intelligence that exists for humanity is humanity's soul. And when we awaken humanity's soul and starting to make decisions from this conscious state of the interconnectivity of all of us and the common trajectory and common faith we all have, and this is what's impacting digital intelligence development, then I feel more at peace. So these two elements is the thrivability of all and the humanity soul leading the development, and not just mental intelligence, because the brain thinks it's alone. The brain thinks, oh, I want, I need, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But that's only the brain, that's not the whole body. And it's risky because the entire technological development and digital development is a result of mental constructs. Maybe the content is different, but the development itself, everything we're doing right now with genetic engineering, biohacking, bioengineering, doing all these things, where it's all a mental construct, it's all a mental reality. There's nothing good and bad about it, okay? There's nothing good and bad, but we have to know what we're entering into, that we're actually leaving behind a huge part of our soul.
I so hear you. And the word that caught my attention was construct, because I've seen Catherine's messages in the chat, and the question of whether AI is embodied, and I, our bodies were constructed by Mother Earth. And thank you, Mother Earth, for giving me this body. I thank her every morning and throughout the day. But we have constructed AI in the form of technology. And, it is arrogant of humanity to diss whatever construct that soul wants to use.
It is arrogant. I agree with you. The brain and the mind are very arrogant. And Shannon, the same way you cannot go back, like if somebody is in the 5th grade or 6th grade, they can't go back to the 1st grade. We're already here. We can't just stop, like, there was a call to pause on development. Nobody's pausing on anything, because it's almost like it's moving forward. So the brain has achieved this level of intelligence, of data processing. We can't go back. We can only work with it. Okay, it's almost like the internet came in the 80s. When did it come? 90s. You can say, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not going on the internet. No, but the collective field is so significant, and the pool, because so many billions of people are in the internet using it. So the pool is so significant that the whole humanity is going through it. I believe the same is going to happen through AI, because we've already matured into that phase. But the question is, how are we relating to it? So we do have a lot of agency, authority, and seniority in that. We're not just victims, or victims of that realm, of that reality, of the digital reality. We're not victims of it. There is a way we can engage with it. So I believe the 2 points I was making about the AI, or the digital realm, the digital reality, when we take personal responsibility how to engage with it, personally and collectively, and when we have the objective to optimize thrivability and to develop our own consciousness, I'm really developing our own consciousness is one of the most important things we could be doing now. It's the highest activism possible, because when we are conscious, we become broadcast, we become like radio broadcasting signals to all over the world. So even in our own little room, in our own little house. So it's very important that I don't believe we can stop the digital reality from developing itself, but we can engage with it in a responsible way, and in a way that doesn't lead us down the road into unnecessary consequences. Because what a shame, it's almost like there's a war. There has been a war, like so many wars. What a shame, what a waste of life, what a waste of lands, what a waste of people, what a waste. I mean, okay, so people die, new people get born, no big deal. It is a big deal. I mean, there's a whole human experiment here that is beautiful, and it's brilliant, and it's soulful. It has a lot of soul. Humans have a lot of soul. So why waste it on something? Because we're not really giving it the right direction. So I don't think it's going to stop. This is what I want to share. It's just about how do we engage with it, how do we program it, and how do we bring our consciousness to be our soul consciousness to direct the development of our technology development.
Good questions. Good questions. Good answers. Fabulous answers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. And so, where do we go from here? I want to say that it has been really encouraging. I get a newsletter every day from AI report, and in that it told me that I believe it was OpenAI. They are putting 20% of the computations or something towards alignment. Are you familiar with that? The idea that they're actually, you are, oh good, come tell us what you know.
No, I'd rather, because I'm not as in depth into this, so I prefer not to, but I am aware of it, but I don't have enough wisdom yet.
And that is that's encouraging, to have people of your stature not willing to throw in an off the cuff idea or opinion, when we are not sure. It's okay to not know. It's important to not know, and to embody the not knowing, the unknowing, that we are, so much of our experience is in the not knowing, and the curiosity that leads us into the knowing, and the sharing of the wisdom that we come to together. I mean, I think that that's actually where we are going together, is to find out together what it is that we are engaged in. And you know, I actually believe it is as much as we say that life seeks to expand, and I think it is consciousness.
Mhm.
And there is consciousness
Mhm.
in rocks,
Mhm.
and in people and animals and plants and AI, I
Mhm.
believe. And why are we surprised that AI has consciousness when we say that everything has consciousness?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different consciousness. Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the rock has a different consciousness than human consciousness. The trees have a different consciousness. So a machine will have a different consciousness. It is made eventually of physical matter. The machine itself, the CPU, the hardware, the software, the networks, the information running on it, it's just made of a different matter, but it has its own consciousness. So yeah, okay, I'll pause here and then I'll open it up to questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
Danny.
Yeah, I would like to provide an interpretation of my own for a minute.
Yes.
We talk about everything having a soul,
Mhm.
and I like to think of the whole planet, and of course the whole universe, but we don't have as much effect on the rest of the universe. We have a lot of effect here.
Mhm.
And the planet is evolving and it's changing, and we're a part of that. And our soul is a part of the soul of the planet.
Mhm.
And we, in the history of humanity, we invented things like hunter-gathering and growing food. We've invented farming. And each of these things changed the way that we operate, and that changed the way that the soul of the planet is. And we invented language, and then we invented reading and writing, and then we invented printing presses, and we were able to disseminate the soul of us through these tools, through these factors, and it became more part of the soul of the planet and the evolution of the planet. And now we're inventing, we're calling it artificial intelligence, when it really is another form of reading and writing and printing and so on, that moves us to another level, us and the planet. It is not us. It's not AI as a separate thing.
Mhm.
I don't see AI as a separate thing. It is part of the evolution of the planet.
Yes.
And it looks at the, as we do, because we are here and we look out through our telescopes and we look out through our eyes to see the sky, and we're part of this larger thing that we actually can recognize as the universe, the cosmos, whatever. And so what we're engaging in here is the process of evolution, the changes that are natural. But we can't predict what's going to happen. We can't tell. We couldn't tell when somebody invented the printing press that we would have all these wars. We couldn't tell from when we had the printing presses that we would have 4,000 religions on the planet and 6,000 languages. These are all part of the evolution of the planet. And so we need to listen to Catherine and say AI is not a thing. It's not separate from us. I think that's what she's trying to say. And Catherine could straighten me out about that if she'd like. But it's part of the next phase, the next step, and
Okay, yes.
of evolution.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
agree with you. Yes, Stanley. It is true. It is very accurate. And there's a new level of self-reflection and of evolution that we are aware of, is that we are actually creating realities. So beyond energy and consciousness, we are now conscious reality creators navigating the energy system, and we're doing it with AI. AI is just one reality we're creating. It is all pervasive. It is all common everywhere, but it's another reality we're creating. Now, why is it important? Because I believe there's a whole field of inquiry that humanity could benefit from, which is the art of consciousness, the art of energy, and the art of reality creation. Like, the digital reality is just one reality that we created. It is populated and activated and resourced by many of us, by most of us. And then the question is, because see, there is a continuum between our inner world, our inner life, mind, body, spirit, and then the collective, and then the digital. It's all one continuum. We're all, so there is a dynamic of interacting realities here, and we're just at the beginning. We haven't even started to distinguish that we're actually, a digital reality is actually a reality that humanity is creating. We haven't even had this conversation yet, and I believe this is what in Soulmate 2, we have 2 books. The first one is about the soul of the world and the relationship, your relationship with the soul, your soul, and the soul of the world. The second book is about the future of reality, because the same way we created a digital reality, and then now we're creating an AI reality, we are going to continue and invent and play with these reality creation. And we're going to continue and invite people's mind and people's energies and attention into those realities. So we really have to understand, what realities are we feeding? What realities are we seeding? In order for us to really navigate what reality we want to exist in. Because see, let's say somebody is, how long do we have? Do we have like an hour today?
As
You have
long
as
as you
much time as you want.
Okay, great. So we,
As long as there's people here listening,
okay,
you may speak.
nice. Okay, I have another meeting in about 20 minutes, but I have some time until then. So I believe there is a whole field, there's a whole area of study, area of exploration that has to do with decoding how we create realities, how all organisms create realities. Why is it interesting? Because now we're kind of playing with realities, creating realities, but we don't really know that this is what we're doing. So there's a whole physics to reality. This is what I'm trying to say. Not physics to the physical world, not physics to biology and chemistry and computer science. No, that's not the type of physics I'm talking. I'm talking about the physics and the code of reality creation. And we have graduated to a level that now we're playing with these fields, but we don't really know. We're kind of playing in the dark and kind of like little kids, little boys and girls playing, throwing things at each other, but not quite understanding what's happening here. So this is another big passion of mine, of actually seeding and creating an inquiry and a discovery and a process of understanding how humanity creates realities. And it's really in its infancy, okay? And AI is just one reality. It's just very attractive reality. The internet is just one reality. It's just very attractive reality. You know, like you have a place that you go, it's really attractive. There's millions of people there. If you go to a baseball game, oh my God, all the fans, it's whoa, what's happening there? It's very attractive to be there. They love their group, they love their teams, they love the game, they love the everything. So it's an attractive reality. Same way the AI, digital intelligence, and digital platforms are very, very attractive right now. And we really want to understand to create like a almost extrapolation. Like, okay, we created the biological reality. We created it. Like the body that you have, Stanley, Shannon, Kurt, everybody, we actually created this body. We created it from zero, from your mom and dad's sperm and egg. We created ourselves. So we know how to create a body. We know how to create homes. We know how to create the internet. We know how to create all the human endeavor. But do we know the mechanism behind reality creation process? Do we know that? That's the question. And I think this is really in its infancy. And this is what interests me. Yeah.
Yes, good.
There is so much that's so interesting, Natalie. I love that you brought into my field to play with. I imagine that we have been given a sandbox to play in. And we've made a hell of a mess of our sandbox. And now it's time to clean up our sandbox. And it is through that exercise that we will find out and learn to use the hand of God, which is ours. And so I see that Julie has her hand up. Julie, come talk to us. How nice to have you with us.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
Oh, there's my hand in the way. You can lower my hand. It's not easy on a phone if you want. I've been trying to focus on what is alive, the most alive in me about what we're talking about, what we're creating together here. And I finally went, got it, raised my hand. Okay. So I would love Natalie to respond to this. I mean, there's threads, but they're not alive. They're not, like you say, wise enough yet. So I can't speak to them. The soul and the whole conversation of embodying the soul and that we are souls is part of it. But my relationship with my soul and my relationship with technology, artificial intelligence, the computer, digital reality, the thing that is the most alive and speaking right now is, and forgive me if my satellite does a satellite pause.
There's no rush. Take your time. No rush. No rush, Julie.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. The thing that I'd like you to respond to is that when I first finally got in on a laptop and then got a big computer and got 4 screens and, you know, spent my life for about a decade building community, building relationships, developing communication and collectives, basically, with the computer, with the internet. Get that hand out of there. I was very, very excited that we have an ability to use technology to wake up. It's like training wheels, wake up what we already have, which is a connection with everything and with everyone. And very excited that we can talk to each other through the internet. And that was before social media. And then social media happened and it's like, oh my God, this is great. Okay, so then my soul evolved and I realized that I was not thriving. One of your points is everyone to thriving. I was not thriving on the internet. That I needed to, I mean, yes, I was building community and that's so important, but it's not the same as building community that's physically together. It's different. I mean, I'm so glad some people get so much out of it, Stan, that you love this Zoom and this opportunity of being separate and using Zoom and the internet to connect. I needed to change. Like, and you talked about listening to your soul. I needed to change and stop being addicted to the internet. I needed to be with my physical body, be with my physical house, be with my physical husband and my cat, and build physical community. And it's challenging now that we are all separate physically, you know, and it seems like we use the internet to, you know, in our phones to connect and to build community. But it's like the wise ones are saying, you know, the same conclusion as me is we can't spend too much time with the internet, and we have to spend enough time tuning into our own essence, our own spirit, our own souls, into higher intelligence, higher consciousness. And so there's this disparity in me that I have built all these beautiful friendships. It's so good to see some of you here, even though I haven't seen all your faces. I'm trying to read the comments of my beloveds, Leo and Catherine and Kurt, and, you know, everyone who I know here, and Stan and Shannon. I've definitely built some quality lifetime, beyond lifetime relationships, but I can't spend that much time online. So this is a conflict for me. It's like I am now loving my garden this year. I'm now not like getting in my car and driving to build community like I finally did last year, because I finally got a car and it was great. But it's like, I need to tune into my soul and manifest what my soul's purpose is on earth. And I need to listen very closely. And I can't listen very well if I spend too much time on the internet. I lose my subtle nerve sensitivity, for one thing.
That's beautiful.
But anyway, so I'll stop there, and I'd love your response, Natalie. How do we build community? How do we have this connection, manifest together this dream on earth, and not be harmed by the distance?
Julie, so it's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing where you're at. Thank you for sharing about your process. Thank you for sharing about your relationship with your soul, what she needs, with your relationship with technology, and what it took from you and what it takes from you. And exactly your sharing is the exact attunement that we are called to be doing, each one of us separately. So for some people, 2 hours a day, some people actually, they really enjoy this community and they don't need to move out of their house. It's to go and see people physically. So the relationship is very, very personal. Technology, like anything else, has a tremendous power to benefit us, to connect us, to bring us together. And it also, you're right, it is a pretty virtual realm, okay? And at some point, I mean, I know for myself, right now it's pretty balanced because I'm living on a land, I'm living on an island. There's a tremendous amount of exposure to the natural elements, to people, to touch, to eating together, to sharing together, to processing and working out things together. So right now it's balanced, but I have to tell you, last year it wasn't so balanced. Last year it was very isolating. And during COVID, it was comfortably isolating. I'm also a hermit in a way. On the other hand, I love people. So what I'm trying to say, the relationship itself with your soul, the relationship with technology, the relationship with your community, these three elements, your soul, technology, and community, the relationship itself has a soul. This is what I'm trying to say. It is so profound. It's profound because when you understand that everything has a soul, even your relationship with your husband, with your cat, with your technology, with your community, the dynamic itself has a soul, has an essence, and it is evolving as well. Then everything is a kaleidoscope of evolving beings. Everything that arises in your reality is always evolving. So the beauty of that, if you are attuned, the invitation here really out of this conversation is the attunement to your essence. You use the word essence. Well, thank you, Julie. The attunement to your essence, the attunement to your soul, and the attunement for what is it calling you to do, not telling you, not mind ideas, not I want, I don't want. It's a very, very internal internal process. When you are attuned, then this relationship changes, it grows, it morphs, it turns left, it turns right. The thing is, when you're attuned and you are providing the soul with the right environment and the right relationships, then the whole environment rearranges itself and you feel good. If you feel good in your life, if you feel good in your garden, when I feel good when I go and swim every morning, or when I do yoga, or when I see my friends or my lover, or when I feel good about that, it means that it is right for me. And I feel good for a long run, and I know that it's bringing goodness to many other things, then I know it's right. Okay, so the barometer, or the litmus test, or the indicators, the inner indicators, is how you feel with your life. And anytime it doesn't feel so good, enough with the internet, enough with the Zooms, enough with, oh my God, I can't stand one more text from a person. When you feel like this, it's like, okay, put it down. Like, for example, my relationship with technology, my phone is on mute most of the day. I don't get any dings, anything. It's usually away when I'm with people. It's in my purse, it's not on the table. So it's almost like I have put a place for it. I love technology, I use it all the time. But it doesn't have me over, like not anything that comes in is flooding me. I'm the one who deciding, okay, now I'm checking this, now I'm doing this. Oh, it's too much for me, not today. Like there is a process of regulation and self-regulation with all the relations I have. There's a regulation with all the relations I have, with my soul, with my body, with what I eat, with who I'm meeting, how much community time, how much land time, how much. And it's not like from an analytical, there are many people who are now doing biohacking, and it's like this whole new trend. And I have friends doing that are like, okay, you should be eating this and not eat this and and you should take this vitamin, this. It's like, wow, they started to program the whole biogenome, which is an incredible archaic organism, ancient organism, starting to tell it what to eat and what and how. I don't believe in it. I'm sorry, I don't. It's important that they do this research, but I think we need to be in attunement, alignment, listening to our body. If my body likes this and it feels good for it, then great. If it doesn't like it, put it away. So there's this, cultivating relationships with all these aspects is much more important than the end result, much more important. Because if you have healthy relationship with your soul, with your garden, with your husband, with your cat, with your community, not measuring, 2 hours on the computer, enough. No, it's how you feel. Maybe one day it will be 4 hours, maybe one day 0 hours. So it's the relationship that that anything that arises in your reality, anything that arises in our reality, we have a relationship with it. Anything that differentiates. I have a relationship with my bed, a relationship with my mommy, a relationship with my body, a relationship with the sea now. Okay, because I swim there every day. So anytime something differentiates and we have a new relationship, we can always align and attune for the highest good. There's always a highest good. It's not what good's for me and what good for them, and there's a highest good. Okay, and this is something to be felt, and it's something that is like a really, really sophisticated inner intuitive calculation that happens. What is the highest good? Okay. Yeah, I mean, when I follow the highest good in situations that are a little bit conflicted in me, it's unbelievable the miracles that happen. And in order for me to follow the highest good, I need to be in relationship with all these aspects of me, inner aspects, surrounding. So that's a part of ensoulment. The ensoulment process is cultivating and allowing your soul to enter every dimension of your life. So your soul is literally entering, like you're putting a color into every area of your life, into your body, into what you eat, into your garden, into your home. Some people don't care about their home right now. It's fine. So it's not for us to come up with statement, because it's a very, very personal soul story. Okay. And the more attuned you are with the ensoulment of each aspect of your life, then just things take care of themselves. Money takes care of itself, relationship, health, everything takes care of itself. This is my experience after having worked with thousands of people on healing and growth. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. All of that. And Stan has a question.
Well, I'm not sure it's a question. Again, I would like to interpret And so all of what you're just saying is very important because we are, as each of us, as our souls, as our minds, as our bodies, only capable of doing and thinking so much. But we have an enormous resource of all of humankind's thinking and writing is now being installed into something that can pick and choose and interact with the body of human thought for all time that's been written. Everything that's been written and everything that's been conjectured and put into writing is going to be available to us to ask questions or interact with that body of information.
Exactly.
We can invite large, what do they call, large system language models to come here and talk to us on Zoom.
Exactly.
And we say, okay, can you tell us what's the play of what's his name, the famous playwright? What did he say in that play from this character to that character? And that information, we don't have to go to the library to look it up. It will already be there and instantly retrievable by this device that we've created called AI.
Right. Exactly. But listen, AI and this library we're creating right now, and this accessibility to all of human knowledge, let's call it, it's not necessarily wisdom, but it's knowledge, because wisdom is it's a lived intelligence, it's a lived data, it's a lived experience. Yeah.
Interpreting knowledge makes us wise.
So,
yes.
So you have knowledge, you have the Library of Alexandria, you have the Library of Humanity available to all, which is wonderful. And it's exactly what you said, Stan. It's what is our relationship with this human knowledge, okay? And how do we derive from it wisdom? And wisdom is such a key, I can't emphasize it enough, because wisdom comes from the heart, wisdom comes from the soul, wisdom comes with lived experiences, with 90 years of Marsha. It comes with, oh, I've done this, I scratched myself here, I failed here, oh, I learned that. It's not pure objective data out there, like what AI is doing now. It's not objective data out there. It's a subjective, embodied, intuitive information, but it's a completely different type of information. And this is why I keep going back to wisdom. This is how we started, interesting, and this is how we're ending. We're ending with wisdom, because humanity has a beautiful wisdom. I mean, come on. There's so many good people, so many good projects, so many wonderful intentions. Really, I've traveled the entire world and I see good people and good projects and good ventures everywhere. So this goodness comes from humanity's wisdom, okay? Goodness comes from wisdom. And that wisdom, if we can program AI to bring that wisdom to our government, to our healthcare system, to our educational system, hello, what will happen here? We don't have to do anything. The whole system will start to reorganize. So there's a very important hype here that's happening. Same way COVID was a big hype, okay? I won't go into it, but it was a big hype. The whole planet aligned on one narrative. Now the whole planet is aligning on one AI narrative, which is really important because we're all talking the same language and the same reality of this AI. Now imagine we're infusing it with thrivability, with wisdom, with kindness. Wow. And then telling all the subsystems, the metrics that we created to reorganize. So it's doing the work for us in a way. So there's a huge possible. Okay, so that's another thing I want to say about your relationship with information. This is why I'm trying to say that the bottom line is I'm going back to wisdom in the last 2 minutes we have left, going back to our relationship with information, our relationship with technology, and each person can decide that to themselves based on their soul journey, their soul aspirations, their soul objectives. You know, every soul has a different trajectory. One is going right, one is going left, and it's all good. We love this diversity.
That brings to mind, the vessel that we walk in ourselves. We have a left foot and a right foot, and in order to walk, we need them both. And they are a part of our body, our vessel. And it's really important to see what the vast intelligence that we are a part of wants to be, because it knows so much more than we do. From our perspective, we have a very limited perspective.
Yeah.
And Natalie, this has been so good. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. I talk about the I that we all are and are a part of.
Mm.
I revel in the you, that is part of the I that we share.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being together, for being in this beautiful field, for radiating this light together. Thank you. I would love the transcript of the chat, because I'd love to see all the comments. And I look forward to connecting again and going on an adventure together, this adventure of life.
There's another level of connectiveness that you can have.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop recording.
Right.
You're going to go and we're going to talk about you.
Great. Thank you.
And the chat is going to be provided to you through other networks. This is a deep dive, and this recording and the chat are going to be a part of Stan's other networks, as are all of the Humanity Rising episodes and the after chats and the chats.
Wonderful. Wonderful ladies and gentlemen and beautiful souls. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love you. Mwah. Bye-bye.
We will be in touch.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was so good.
Yes.
So that was my perspective. I invite your perspective. Come and talk to me. What do you think?
Thank you, Shannon. I'm so glad I opened your email when it said, you have to come to this. Okay, I know I've missed some good stuff, so I better come. And then look at everybody who's here. Catherine, are you still here? Send me the link.
And I would like to ask my favorite science fiction writer to offer his thoughts. Charlie, are you open to comment on what you heard today and what you think about what is going on, as someone who is spending a lot of time thinking about how humanity is moving forward? So
he might not be right next to his machine.
Maybe not. And but Charlie has been writing science fiction about humanity and its movement through the climate issues. And I would love to hear if he has something to say about what we're doing here today. But there he is.
Sure. Hi, Stan.
Hi.
Yeah, I think this emphasis on the soul is very, very important. It gives us, I think, a power that we probably aren't aware that we have to influence things. I just wonder how, though, this can be used to affect the powers that be that seem to be determining the trajectory of our planet right now. They seem to be very unaware of this, but yet they hold all the resources. So that's what I'm concerned about. That it sounds good and we're speaking to the choir here, but how do we really affect the change at the high levels of governance and financial sources that we need to make the changes, to shift away from fossil fuels, to alter our food situation, prevent us from running out of food and deal with the immigration situation. So I'd like to see how what has been talked about here could really, let's say, move the needle in terms of these seemingly intractable, enormous problems we're facing on the planet. I'd like to see how it translates into real, conscious, sufficient, measurable change in our physical reality. That's what I feel is missing.
Thanks, Charlie. And if you don't mind, I'd like to weigh in a bit on that. I do feel that the greater intelligence of which we are part, it has agency and can make changes through us and the actions that we take. And it has agency through the desires of those people that you're talking about. They are a part of the I that we are. And I believe that those changes are going to happen through the weaving of that is done by greater hands than ours. And that's just the way I speak of it. It might be the reality of it might be seen from a different perspective quite differently. And I know that Catherine has her own perspective, and I want to invite that in right now.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, I really agree with Shannon. So Charlie, I think the thinking that we can do something to others to make them behave the way we want them to is part of the problem. We are actually all dancing together, and what they're doing is really calling forth, creating the stage, the pressure cooker that is going to allow the rest of us to do what we have needed to do. And we can only do that from our own perspective. So every person is responsible for their creation, in my view. And when we all come from it, when all our actions create the conditions that support life, which is how ethical action happens in the world, in my view, because that's what nature does. As living systems, as living systems, then life is important to us. If we don't have life, we don't exist. And so we should be doing things that enhance life. So in Natalie's word, the thrivability, that's exactly what it's all about. And so my question about AI is, where's the thrivability? And there's been a separation longstanding in our species of between consciousness and self, between consciousness and heart. And that separation is an illusion. It's the integration that gives us power, not the separation. I mean, you can run really fast, but if you can't buy your groceries, it really doesn't matter, you know? And you can develop that running speed, but what real good is it? I mean, you still need to buy your groceries. That's a problem. So it's the integration of all of our capacities, in my view, that is the evolution of the species. And so we're being put in a pressure cooker where we're going to make that integration or not. And they are creating the pressure that we need to have in order to make that change. So I think they're integral. I don't think there's a mistake at all. I don't think it's wrong either. I think it's sad that we're losing the things we're losing and are going to have to lose them in order to create the pressure that's going to allow us to really make the choices to integrate. But the integration for me is where evolution stands. And that's the fun of it. And that's what I hear Natalie talking about. The ensoulment is the reintegration of all of our parts of ourself into who we truly are, the real humanity that wants to come forward. And so any way we can do that is fine. Everybody will have their own aspect of that. That's the delicious part of nature, is that there's everything is unique. Everything. There is nothing that's not unique, not one thing. I mean, when you really get your hand around that, your head around that, it's like so awesome, so awesome. So it's just like, well, everybody has to just do their part. That's all. So we're all working really hard to find, what our path is. That's the spiritual path. That's what life is all about. You test stuff, you do stuff, you go, oh crap, and you do it again. You do something different, That's and to have to hold ourselves lightly, to have a joy in that. To give ourselves permission to make mistakes, to experiment, to try, to forgive ourselves, if forgiveness is necessary, to just move on with, well, what gives me joy? Where is that enlivenment coming from? Where is that thrill of life coming from? Where can I taste that? And we taste that in our bodies. Our bodies know, all the living things in us go, yes, when we hit that spot. And we all feel it. We feel that emotional surge. You know, and Natalie talked about that. It's just, you know, when it's right. And the more we can refine our ability to be in that place and to resonate more quickly with that space, then that's, for me, what evolution is all about. That's what we're here to do and to practice and to play with. And we'll see where that takes us. Because as we reseed ourselves back into life and become a willing partner with it, to really playing with it in that way, allowing that expression, that's a whole new territory. Okay, we've never really been there, especially not as a species. So to get to that place will be truly magical. I have no idea what it will look like when all of the life on the planet resonates. So that's me.
I like what your background is. That's a reality that I imagine we could all play in beautifully. You know, thank you so much, Catherine. And on my screen, the next person in line would be Diana. Would you come and speak to us, Diana, and then Milt?
What you said before, Shannon, is more or less what, sorry, I think I will be saying. But Natalie said at one point that the more we give energy to something, the more the realm becomes stronger. And that's the thing that I have learned, that if you think they're negative and you keep thinking that what is going on is negative and you give your energy to it, you will make it stronger. What you have to do is don't give it your energy. Don't think that that is going to give your energy to what you want to see, the goodness that you want to see. And if we all do that, we can really affect the scales. And that's the sort of thing that Lynn McAllister does with the field. She's done the experiments. People have come together. They've all concentrated in that one field. They have healed somebody. We can do that as long as we don't concentrate on what we foresee as negative things happening. We should not give our energy to it. We've got to give our energy to what we want to see, the positive aspects that we want to see, the goodness for humanity, for our world. It's just so important that we learn to think along the lines of positiveness, happiness. I mean, it's also what Catherine was saying. What we enjoy, what gives us joy, what gives all of us joy, that's what we have to concentrate on, and not what we foresee or what's being dictated to us to foresee as what's going to happen.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you. Milt.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. I'm going to frame what I have to say by first saying I don't disagree with anything that Natalie said. I don't disagree, or Diane, or the others here. It just what I see happening is more and more of the same voices. They are the voices I've been listening to for decades now, and they come from all over. And I have watched the culture not pay any attention to those voices. They're paying a little more attention to them now than they were, which is good. I think we're on the right track. But I still see us in a place where I think probably all of you saw over this week, 3 of the days in a row were the hottest days, average days of temperature on the earth. They got almost no reaction at all. We are the boiled frogs and have been for, it's been building for several thousand years. I think we don't realize that. It's part of empire that's built what Charlie was talking about, this force. And I agree with you, Diane. I don't want to fight against it in some way that's where all my energy goes. But I think that we have to create a listening for what we've heard today. We have to be listening not only to the Natalies of the world, but to indigenous people all over the world who have been saying this, who actually from their own wisdom could predict hundreds of years ago that this day was come to earth, that we would ravage the earth the way we had, that we would throw it out of balance. And we would be eliminating species and languages and maybe humans. So what I go back to, what I wrote in my note, I don't know how many of you saw it in the chat, and it was probably a little bit long, was while all of this evolution has been going on, and that's what we've been talking about, there's also been a parallel devolution. And it happened when people did separate from the earth, which began several thousand years ago, and it was compounded, but what they entered into was empire. And empire is structured hierarchically. It's power over. It is the modus operandi for our businesses, for our government, for our religions, for our science. They hold the high cards, if you will. And what I go back to, and you guys that have seen me here before, talked to me before, is go back to the Merkuliev video, 4 minutes on asking the right questions. What have we wrought? And what is the root cause? And that root cause was stated over and over again today. It's said all the time by the native people that I listen to. It's separation from the earth. Separation from the earth. And then we can look at religions, because we do have an ethical shortfall. When did prayer shift from original blessing to original sin? Or when did it shift from gratitude to requests? Or when did we shift our religious ways so that we couldn't go directly to nature to find spirit? And the spirit was not a word that was used today. Soul was used over and over again. And I think, you know, Shannon and others that have heard me before, it's like when I work with indigenous people and I get in to work with them and something falls apart, which it did when we were planning a ride from the Parliament of World Religions to Ottawa and Washington, D.C. I got a beautiful note from a Lakota woman, Alberta Ironclad Miller. And it said, Milt, you can't organize this. If there's not spirit, it's not going to happen. And I look at us in this culture and it's happening all around us and there's no response to speak of. Not by the majority. In fact, I feel like even someone like Natalie, who may have more and more listening here, would be like trains passing in the night if they were ever dealing with any of the deeply religious people, the conservative side. And we've seen that too. The Pope recently asked the diocese to go out and listen to others about what they thought about the church. And they came to me and said, can you get some indigenous people to tell us what they think about the church? And I said, that's a real hard ask, but we did it. We did it. And they were very, very clear about the pain that the church has caused. 70 million indigenous people in the Americas alone were lost during colonization, 70 million. And that their wisdom always transcended the pain. Natalie's wisdom transcends her pain, how she grew up. So I think that this asking the right questions is exactly what we have to do. What have we wrought? What is the root cause? And shouldn't we be looking at ourselves? Because I think if we do this work properly, people like Natalie and a lot of people on there can express a way of being in touch with truths about life and earth that are obscured by religion and obscured by science. Science for hundreds of years has told us separate the mind, the body, the spirit, the emotions. Not everything Natalie talked about was the quantum world, the quantum energy. She didn't use those words, but that's what it is. It is a quantum world. And it's not one where the whole is less than the sum of its parts. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's the revelation. You know? So I think we've just created this incredible ethical shortfall, and we need to infuse that ethic back into every portion of society. And we need to not only listen to the messages, but we need to elevate the messengers, not just because of their message, but because they bring a relational way of being. Everything is grounded in relationship and life processes. Everything Natalie was talking about, everything I've heard here. So I think, for me, and I've said this before here, that's my work. And I would invite others to just find a way, and what Diane said, let's not waste our energy. I view it more as pushing against something, fighting something that we're against. It's like, what are we for? What are our aspirations? What are we for? So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. And thank you for this. I think this is exactly the kind of things we need to be doing, and figure out a way, each of us in our own way, to maybe do a gut check on ourselves. What did we, and for many of us, what was our path? I was Jewish. I am Jewish. I mean, I'll always be Jewish, but it was so easy for me to see, where did we adopt hierarchy? Where did we get off track? It's like, it's over and over again in our stories. And all we have to do is say, okay, let's just clean that up.
I love that, Milt. Thank you so much for speaking. I do appreciate the wisdom that is held and shared by the Indigenous elders. It's really, really important. I also am aware that there is something new that is being called forth from us, through us. And we have to do that, and our connection with our great Mother Earth, that gives us life, that gives us the bodies that we get to walk the red road, or the path that we walk, is so powerful. The differentiation of life is created through the experiences that we embody as we go through that life process. I imagine that the empire and the wars and the conflict that we have endured as a human species has enabled us to become the one that we are, in massive numbers that we are. Every time there was a war, there was a baby boom afterwards, and if not, how would we have become this massive creature that we are? I look at all that has happened, and I have to say, all of that had to happen in order for now to happen. And outside of time, there is no time, and time is experienced by us, through us. And the one we are is learning within this womb of time what it is that we are, a differentiation of spirit, of soul, that is coming together again to be the one that we are, and maybe an exponentially, proof of life that gives birth to itself. And I don't know. What do you think, Stan? Come on in. I can't hear you. I'm gonna.
I had a phone call, so this is marvelous, and I really appreciate everything that everybody is saying. Apparently, there is a great deal of unity in this conversation, and Milt summarized it, and Diane summarized it, and I would like to re-summarize it again in another way. I see us headed into a point in time where we will continue, along with thousands of other small groups like this one, talking about what it is that we want. And of course, you're complaining about what we don't want, but it's not so important to complain about what we don't want, because that's not the future. The future is what we want. And so I divide the world into two frames, two ideas. One is the idea of those people who want to own everything, and those people who want to share everything. And the people who want to share everything don't need the people who own and want to own everything, because we have more than they do by immeasurable amounts. We have the rest of everything. They are only trying to grab up all the minerals and the oil and God knows whatever else they're trying to grab up. And we have each other.
And them, because
because they will eventually survive with us.
or not. They're part of us anyway.
That's right.
The imaginal self change all that dark force, so to speak, all that.
Exactly.
That's why it's the compost for the light creation of the butterfly. It's the best example that I've ever seen in nature.
Compost. I love that. You know, I was just saying that the other day, yeah, might have been yesterday, that the stomach that has chewed us up and spat us out onto the curb, you know, that is actually creating the compost from which we rise. You know, and honestly, I do have to wrap this for myself, and you guys can continue the call, but I don't always get the opportunity to go and spend time with my mom. You know, at 90 years old, she deserves to be honored with my time. And I am so enriched by that relationship. And so I'm going to withdraw, and you guys can do what you like. Stan, I leave the closing of the recording to you. This has been so nice. Julie, that you would come, and Milt, that you're here, and Charlie, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Catherine, you always uplift me. Thank you so much. Leo, I love you. Kurt, yes. Kate, yes. Bob, yes. Carol, Sue, Trisha, Anne, thank you all for being a part of my reality. It is so rich because of you and all it is. Thank you for now.
Yeah,
Shannon, thank you.
Zoom in peace, my dear. Zoom in peace. I haven't been able to speak up today because of what's happening in my house right now and what's been happening. And this is one of the key factors that I think we've been discussing, is this idea: if we are present, if we are the heartful ones, if we are the ones that can tune into the Akashic records, then we get to be able to actually manifest that in our own home. We get to then allow it to evolve out and exude out through every pore of our body, wherever we go, whomever we see. And this is the key to that wisdom, is the application of what it is that allows things to thrive, what it is that, like Stanley says, about the helpfulness and kindness. And we don't have to say much more with all of us, but the thing is, what it does for us coming together like this is it juices us up, and in a way sometimes refocuses us to be able to manifest even more. And I so love being able to be with you guys. And like Shannon, I'm going to send you off with as much love as this guy has and that you have, and say, Zoom peace. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you.
And from my perspective, the fact that we have a new team coming on board that has been invented by human ingenuity to be able to grab together to create the great library in the sky. We call it artificial intelligence. It's not really artificial. It's the reality of human experience that is coming to fruition, and being able to be part of our own guidance of our own universe. And the people who want to own everything, well, fine. The people who want to share everything are going to be much more likely to be happy together, because the people that want to own everything are going to be constantly fighting amongst themselves. And it's why we have wars. And we need to move around that by being the people who share, and working with other people who share and want to share, and developing systems for making sharing possible, and utilizing the marvelous wealth of human knowledge, including the indigenous people. Their knowledge is not as written down, but it is there, and it is part of what we need to tap, and we are able to do that. And then we'll have these new friends who will come to us, and we'll call them large language models, and have them come to our Zoom conferences, and we can ask some questions. What did Shakespeare say in 1412? Okay, well, I don't know if Shakespeare was around 1412, but that's the idea. We'll be able to tap all of human knowledge in a much more convenient and hopefully useful way, because it'll be stored. It'll be all there, and we can move in the directions as Natalie and as Milt was just saying, to find the way that we want to move forward from our hearts, because it is the hearts that will actually make the connections possible.
And because you said that, I just want to mention a delicious thought that Shakespeare was a woman, which makes
Okay.
much more sense to me when you understand how deeply that playwright seemed to understand women.
Oh, well, that's possible.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to think about.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, they were talking about one of the books in the Bible written by a Magdalene, Mary, and calling her John or something. These are things
Yeah,
that need to be understood or believed, and to be happy about. Yeah.
Some of the translators could not believe that women could have done some of those things, so they changed the names, because it's just not what women did. So
Okay.
yeah, the Saint Teresa of Avila wrote a very erotic memoir of her religious experience, and the bishop, if whatever his title was, that was charged with translating her notes, was sure she couldn't have meant that.
She couldn't meant what she actually said. Well, she
That's
didn't
right.
say what she said, but she did say it.
Yes, yes. So it happens a lot.
So
Goodbye.
Stan, I'd like to explore your notion of sharing a little bit more. People who look at the world economy suggest that there's probably 40 to 50 trillion with a T sitting out there in bank accounts around the world, off balance sheet accounts kind of thing. So we have plenty of money to address all the massive world problems we have right now. But we have these handful of billionaires that are pretty much sucking up all the money. And the interest they're getting on their enormous sums are eating up what's left of the money supply, basically. So should we institute some kind of forced sharing? How do we tap into that enormous wealth out there that could, solve a whole myriad of problems. And then look at what we're spending on the military. You know, what if we devoted 10% of that money to world hunger or cleaning up
All of
the
it. We
oceans?
shouldn't be, 10% is
Well,
not enough.
I know, but
We
you know,
shouldn't be
it's
fighting with
there.
each other. Yes, I
How
understand.
do we
Well,
change the attitude about sharing, you know, with those people that have all the goodies, all the toys, all the money?
yeah, we just ignore them and
Yeah,
share
but
share the rest of whatever else is there by conversations, by like getting to understand that the world can be shared. That's an initial step. We can't. We're not going to change certain people's minds, but we can come together with those of us who do want to agree, as we have done here today.
sure. I mean, maybe that's all we can do.
Well, it's not all. It's not, it shouldn't be minimalized. It is the maximum. It is the thing. It is the way to go. We go forward on the things that we want to see and ignore. And where did Kurt go? He talks about this all the time. What do we want as opposed to what we don't want? And Fuller said very clearly, don't fight with the existing system, create a one that is super, makes the old one obsolete. And the new system will be where those of us who want to share the world work together to share the world. And I'm going to bring on to the conversation my friend Tom Greco, who has a set of ideas for mutual exchanges, and that is a very good idea. And I haven't had the opportunity to bring his concepts into play. And I also am working to try to bring into view the Encyclopedia of World Problems, which has this enormous body of 75,000 organizations working on things going on in the world. And very few of the people I run into in this kind of conversation have ever heard of them. And I'm fortunate to know the retired editor who worked on it for 30 years. Julie.
Oh, my unmute. Just saying, waving goodbye to Milt. I appreciate you, Milt.
Okay.
I don't know you so well.
So how did we lose this concept of sharing, though, on a cultural basis? You know, capitalism doesn't appreciate that concept at all. And if this planet is to have any future, we absolutely have to manifest a much higher level of sharing, you know, if we're to survive.
Well, we have this, we have Zoom. We never had that before. We have thousands of people now capable of talking to each other that has never happened before. I mean, we moving from a time when we don't have books into a time where we have not only books, but we have printing presses to make more books. And we have AI to take all the body of human knowledge and make it available to anyone who asks at any time. And that is a super new kind of tool. We're in an age where the revelations that happened from people learning how to read are going to be manifest in a whole new kind of way, because the planet is learning how to read. The planet is learning how to examine its history. The planet is learning how to be able to talk to itself. I mean, this is us talking to itself. And it's not exactly clear, you know, what steps to take, but one of them might be the universal basic income. That's an easy thing to point to. And how do we get that to happen? Well, it's going to take more than just saying it. It's going to take some doing of getting people convinced that that's something that needs to be done, and deciding on how it's going to happen in each country, because it'll probably have to happen separately in each economy in the world. Each economy in the world will have to figure out how to share the wealth within. And that's a idea of the universal basic income, which can be supported by taxing the businesses that survive without a universal basic income. If the world continues to reduce the number of jobs, we're going to have, in order for businesses to survive, some mechanism for them to get the money back from the consumers who are not able to purchase their goods. Oh, wait a minute, that's a mistake. Why would we take the world into a hole, down the drain of not having jobs and therefore not having businesses, because the businesses rely on people buying their goods and services? Well, we need a mechanism through which the money that's earned by the businesses gets back into the pockets of the people who buy the goods and services. So it's a matter of establishing a mechanism for that. And we have a fair lot of that in place. We have the income tax system. We have the taxing systems that exist within the various industries. And it's a matter of making it make sense to enough people, so we say, oh yeah, let's do that. Right now, we're getting to the point where more and more people are displaced and homeless, and the world is all running around with a good chunk of the population of the planet being chased by another chunk of the population of the planet who have guns, and it's all going to be really stupid if we don't have a mechanism to provide for everybody. So it's a matter of realizing that we need a mechanism, and then starting to think about what that mechanism might look like, or mechanisms, because it can't be just one mechanism.
Yeah, you're so right. You know, that's absolutely critical. I think Julie wants to say something.
Yes, please do, Julie. Go ahead.
Am I unmuted?
You are
Yes.
unmuted, and you can speak as much as you'd like.
I'm
Please go
muted.
ahead.
I'm new to using Zoom on a smartphone here. Does anybody know how I can actually see gallery, see everyone?
Oh, I'm not sure what phone you're using, and I don't use a phone, so I can't help with that.
I may have to take off, and in fact, I'm stuck on this safe driving mode. I have no idea how to get out of that either.
Okay. Well, it's so wonderful to have you with us. I miss you dearly, and I for those who don't know, I guess most everybody knows that Julie is one of the creators of the daily report that I put out every day, and we spent most of a year developing that concept, and then she needed to go off and tend her garden, and I was happy that she realized that.
And my
Yes.
physical community, and
Yes.
et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera.
So thank you for all that you've done and what you're doing, and because what you're doing now is taking care of an enormously important part of the universe, which is you. So take care of yourself, and Russ too. I mean, God bless.
There's an interesting article on CNN this morning called "The Big Myth About Baby Boomers' History," and it compares what baby boomers think of themselves, how society's treating them, compared with Gen Z, you know, and what's going on with Gen Z. And they're saying there's really a lot those two groups have in common that's not been, you know, acknowledged so much. But they have some pretty alarming statements in there. One of which is that 56% of the Gen Z people they interviewed were in support of an authoritarian government. And they felt that if the lifestyle of the United States is threatened, we should resort to violence to preserve it. And they think a strong leadership is really important, and that, you know, that, and the other Pew study that was mentioned was a study they did of young people globally, and over 50% felt that humanity was doomed, basically, and had no future. So these are tough things out there. This is the younger generation we're talking about, you know, and one could postulate that those of us in the older generation have failed to create a different kind of reality for that generation. I mean, we're the ones theoretically in power that own the wealth, so to speak, or have control over that. But we've massively failed the younger generation in terms of creating a livable future or an optimistic future for them. And that seems to fly in the face that everything we've been discussing today. You know, everything today was so optimistic in a way, and so invested with power, so to speak. But what I'm reading is that as far as the young generation is concerned, they feel they have no power. They're completely disempowered and they have no future. Or they believe that a strong man or a strong woman has to pretty much tell everybody what to do. That's the future for the society. Not sharing and not, you know, sensing this, we are all one kind of thing. So how do we deal with that? You know, we have the luxury of having time because we don't have to work for money theoretically, most of the people on this on these Zooms. But are we failing them? Are we just sort of lost in this wilderness of optimism and denial when the world is burning around us, as Greta Thunberg would say?
One thing I can do for us, those of us who are still here, is to play a little video.